My name's Celeste, and I just share these videos. I call them Unraveling because it really just, I unravel in these videos in the most natural, unprepared way, just sharing about my experiences, my stories, what I'm going through in my walk with Jesus, my return from being in the New Age for many years back to the living God, the truth, Jesus Christ. I'm not here to try and educate you on anything or try and convince you of anything. I'm here to share my story or experiences that I have, random experiences in this journey that I think is very relevant or that I feel is really are very relevant. And may God just use this video where it's intended to be used and for whom. So I had this urge to come on and share about this thirst I had, a particular thirst, and why I'm so incredibly grateful for that thirst. So picture the scene. I'm traveling through Greece last year, October 2025, and the particular event that I'm going to share to you is not a big story. It's not a long story. Hopefully this video is not too long. It's not a long story, but it's in hindsight so relevant in my walk with in my return journey to Jesus Christ. Now, if you've watched my testimony, I was officially saved, or actually saved, and by saved I mean saved in Jesus Christ, saved by me finally surrendering to Him as my Lord and Savior on the 15th of December in 2025. So this was prior to this. This was me traveling through Greece. This is part of this whole journey after Jesus called me back. And for 9 months, I had to go through a period of really learning and opening up to this call and really surrendering to it. So here I was traveling through Greece, October last year, and the particular day I'm sharing about was just a random day. It was a Saturday, and I was traveling. I hired a car, and I was traveling through Peloponnese from Nafplio to Olympia. So picture the scene. Here I was, just absolutely joyous, and I felt so free. It was probably the third day driving this car. So the initial fear of driving on the different side of the road and all by myself in a foreign country, that had left me. And here I was just totally enjoying myself. But I had this urge this day. I had such an urge, a thirst. Now, I had water with me. So it wasn't that I wasn't drinking water. I was drinking a lot of water. I had plenty of water with me. I stopped by a beachside cafe. I walked on the beach, had my feet in the water. Didn't have a swim at that stage, but it was just, there was a lot of water surrounding me anyway. I had a delicious ice cream at the beachside cafe. Oh, I can still taste that ice cream. But I had this thirst that I had to drink water from a fountain that day. I just felt like so relevant for me to somewhere find a fountain and somewhere I could taste living water. And nothing else could do. Not walking on the beach, not drinking water, all of this stuff was beautiful. I was looking at the ocean, but I wanted to drink from a fountain. Somehow I had this unquenchable thirst. So my last leg on the way I had to get to the B&B at Olympia. So as I was driving, there was the sign, waterfall to the right, up a mountain. And of course, I thought, okay, well, great, that's it. Maybe it's not a fountain, maybe it's a waterfall, even better. So I drive up this windy road. It's towards the end of the tourist season, so thank goodness it wasn't too busy. But yeah, here I drive, and probably, I don't know, 5, 6 kilometers, 7 kilometers. And I decided, no, I don't know where this waterfall, maybe it's miles, maybe it's just around the next corner. You know how it happens when you think something's literally just around the next bend, or maybe it's still miles. I could have looked on a map, but I didn't bother. I thought, okay, well, it's maybe not this water. Anyway, a waterfall's not a fountain, and I felt this need for something. It needed to be a fountain that day. So I turned around. So here I come driving back, and I remember driving up, there was this little church along the side of the road, little Orthodox church, And, I sort of noticed it, but I thought, no, I know that I experienced in that trip that most of the churches were locked, and I desperately wanted to see a church, but to go into a church, but that wasn't the day for it. That was the day for the fountain. So anyway, I turned back and I thought, okay, well, here this church is on the left-hand side of the road. It's probably locked, but I'm just going to just zip over and just enter this church, or just look at this church, knowing it was going to probably be locked, which it was. As I literally pulled over, literally next second, it felt like the next second, I don't know from where this truck came just barreling down from behind. And it's windy roads, these. And it just came absolutely careening down. And I'm thinking, wow, if I had sat there driving me on my own, like in my own little world, and this truck came, who knows what would have happened? I'm sure it would have been fine. But, as I pulled over and this truck came past, I thought, wow, what a relief. Anyway, that was the first for me, like, wow, okay, this is great to be standing here. It's good that I stopped. But the church is probably going to be locked. But here it was, the fountain, right in front of the church. Those traditional European fountains with a beautiful mosaic, quite old, but it was right there. And I just felt like this was the moment. This is my living water. I wasn't thinking a spring. I was thinking a fountain. There was this water. And something in me had this thing that I want to drink 7 times. Remember, I wasn't officially thirsty for water. I had a thirst, an unquenchable thirst for living, running water out of a fountain. So part of me said, this is a holy, sacred moment. Not part of me, all of me said, this is a holy, sacred moment. Drink 7 times. Don't know where that came from. Well, I do. But it just said, drink 7 times. Cupped my hands and I drank the most delicious water. I'm sure, I don't know where the water came from. Maybe it's not natural spring water. Maybe it was just from the pipe. But to me, it felt like the most incredible, incredible water that moment when I drank from that fountain in front of that little church right by the side of the road. And here's the thing. So these things aren't big moments. There's not a big story. There's nothing else that happened. I got in my car and I traveled back down and I went to Olympia. But what I noticed, this is how God works. He puts in me these desires. Remember again, before I was saved, but I had this deep desire for something, and a thirst, not a desire, a thirst. It had to be living water. And why I'm telling the story is today I know that those are the gifts. The water isn't the gift. The thirst is the gift. Because the thirst that I had for Jesus Christ, not knowing I had a thirst before I was saved, but the thirst I had for Him is what gave me the gift. Because He was standing there knocking the whole time, waiting to be let in for me to return to Him. But I had to have the thirst to allow that, to surrender. Because remember, mentally, and I've shared this in my testimony and many other videos, you couldn't have swayed me by, oh, this is the path, this makes sense. No, it had to be a thirst. It had to be so deep, such a deep desire that nothing else can do. But you remember, at this time, I didn't know that my thirst was really for Jesus Christ and for His immense blessings and for what I receive in this beautiful journey with Him. I just had the thirst. And that day, I didn't even realize it afterwards. It was months afterwards. In fact, I think it was even after my salvation that I started putting back all the little gems that were part of this journey. And I've shared many a times, and I will share many a times about this journey, that it's not an easy journey. Yes, it's not an easy journey. When you are lost to Satan, when you are returning to Jesus Christ, Satan takes out all the stops to pull you back because it's a loss for him. But I'm standing so strong in Jesus Christ. I'm not saying, I've got it, I'm far from. I battle daily in my journey. But here I'm just sharing because of this thirst I have, because of this thirst that I acknowledged, and this thirst that I am so grateful for. I keep pursuing my relationship with Jesus, not because, yes, being with him is just absolutely the most wonderful. Like I say, it's an incredible hard journey, but it's also the most incredible, beautiful journey. But having the thirst for him, the living for him, for his living power, his love, his compassion, his mercy to fill me, to permeate me, to be part of me. Everything in me cries out, that's what I want. I want that. And the more I savor this thirst, the more I get entrenched in my relationship with him. Like I say, not always easy. And this year has taught me so much. Some of the most ugly things I have been delivered from and still are being delivered from. It's a story for another day. Today I want to talk about the thirst. Be so grateful for when you have that thirst. Nurture that thirst. Wake up that thirst in you for this living blessing. That is the blessing. The thirst itself is the blessing. That's what I want to share about that day. When I look back in that day, I thought nothing else would do. And my prayer today for myself and for each and every one of us is that we stay with that need, that desire, that when you can taste his love, his mercy, his absolute glorious being with Jesus. That's when the relationship becomes such a living reality. That's the blessing, the thirst. So I want to go back to that day that I had this thirst. Yeah, water is so important for life. What can I say? But drink. And remember, he said to the Samaritan woman at the well, I'll give you living water so that you never thirst again. May I always just want to drink constantly this living water. I will never thirst. I won't die of thirst. I won't. It will fill me. But please, I ask that I continuously feel this need to quench, to be with him, to want to be filled by this living water. I don't want to be ever in a place where I can't find the water. But the thirst makes me want to be with him, makes me want to taste it. Anyway, I'm getting very poetic in this video, unexpectedly so. I'm really feeling it. So really just pray that it blesses you in the same way that it blessed me to share this with you. God bless. Bye for now.